If you know the NFL, you might know Mike Holmgren, the former head coach of the Packers, who later taught Andy Reid, the current head coach of the Chiefs. And he had a very specific coaching strategy, where if a player makes a mistake, you don't shout at the player, you shout at the coach of the player while the player is still watching. The reason why you do this is because if you criticize the coach while the player is watching, the coach and the player will be united and band together to do a better job in order to avoid being attacked by you. Now, if you criticize the player directly, this separates the coach and the player to where they think that they are at odds with each other. This is a key part of leadership, understanding what makes people work together. And you'll see this in shows like Generation Kill, for instance. There's a running plot thread in the show that these soldiers are being constantly berated by their officers for their grooming standard. For instance, when one of the soldiers grows a mustache. And you're watching this and you're wondering, who cares? Like, who cares about how long a mustache is when you're fighting a war and there's guns and explosives? Well, the reason why the officers are doing this is because it unites the soldiers together against their officer. So they complain about their officers instead of complaining about each other. And it's an effective way to make sure that there's cohesion and that people are working together towards a common enemy, in this case, the officer. And that's why so many fraternities, sororities, and religions often have hazing or group suffering rituals. It's because it unites people together, but it also forms a sense of investment. Because you understand that you worked really hard and you suffered to get to where you are. Therefore, you want to succeed. You want to make sure that everything was worth it. You don't want all that suffering to go to waste. This is tied into the sunk cost fallacy. People don't want to give up on something that they've worked so hard to achieve, even if it's not working for them. So that's why hazing exists. That's why it's often so unpleasant, because the more unpleasant it is, the more likely the person in question will remind themselves that they don't want to give up on something because of how difficult it was for them to get there in the first place. Now, if you don't have this great investment or sacrifice or form of collective suffering, well, people are less invested and they are less likely to take things seriously. In contrast to this, think about like fanatical cults. Like, how do they get these people to do incredibly crazy things? Well, they increase the investment over time. They gradually get people to invest more and more and more and more of themselves, and to even suffer more over time, to the point of where requests seem less and less extreme, to where you can get them to do things that I can't even repeat on this app. So that's why hazing exists. It often is trying to generate a sense of investment into something, which often helps strengthen the group as a whole. And you'll see this in religions too. A lot of religions impose restrictions on their followers because it helps generate investment, but it also helps keep the group as a whole stronger than otherwise.